tour for, a week and then comes back. It's that show. So I don't know how the Scorpions, find a one-night Chicago fill-in, unless it's a local band, and, good luck with that. You know what I mean?
Well, I hear Imminent Sonic Destruction could open for them.
I'm sure they could for a night. They would have absolutely no problem with that. Our friend Tony Piccoli would be absolutely thrilled with that.
I'm sure he would. So, yeah, just throwing that out there. But nonetheless, yeah, so Scorpions, for the rest of the country, outside of those of us around the Chicagoland area, they're going to get quite a double bill. And Dave Mustaine, who normally is very egotistical, is like, dude, I'm getting to open for one of the greatest bands in the world. I mean, how awesome. I mean, he's like a little kid, getting to open for one of his idols growing up as a teenager.
Yeah, so, I mean, he said, and I remember months ago, him having some sort of, I can't say anything yet, but, we're going to be a support, band, which we haven't done in decades, but for these guys, I want to support these guys, and it turned out to be the Scorpions, which was freaking awesome. That is talk about Fates Warning, even though Fates Warning is a band I like to see. Scorpions is one of those, before they stop touring, I need to see them live bands, because I've never seen them.
Yeah, this might be your last chance.
It might be. Honestly, so I think that's definitely a show I need to check out, without a doubt. And speaking of that, but you have more news. Of course, you saw me share the Sunday According to Metal Facebook page yesterday, I'm hoping. Please tell me you're going to also talk about another tour involving a progressive metal band that you are a fan of, with a show that I think you specifically may find incredibly interesting.
Yes. So Dream Theater apparently is going to do Images and Words in its entirety, which is phenomenal. And because let's face it, back when Images and Words came out, they were not the Dream Theater you know today.
Not at all.
They did not. They did not have millions and millions of followers.
And just to give you guys, the listeners, a little bit of history in regards to Biv and our fandom of Dream Theater, because we're both big fans of Dream Theater, but it's funny, when Biv and I first met, and again, he's, Biv's 74, so this is a long time ago, but, I was the In Flames, Dark Tranquility, Arch Enemy, Children of Bodom, Opeth guy, and he was the Dream Theater Images and Words Awake guy. And so he's like, dude, check these guys out, and it just never clicked for me. I was a melodic death metal head who, progressive metal and Dream Theater especially, it wasn't my cup of tea, so I didn't really get it. It really wasn't until mid-2000s, Octavarium, Black Clouds and Silver Linings, Systematic Chaos, that kind of era of Dream Theater was when I got into the band and went, holy shit, these guys are really good. But as you, the listener of the show, especially if you're Dream Theater fans, that's two totally different bands, really. Still really good, just two totally different bands. And it wasn't until I became a fan of the recent stuff that I then went back and listened to the Images and Words and Awake, and Images and Words is good. Awake is probably my favorite album they've ever done, but Images and Words is in my top 3 or 4 now. And so it's just funny how eventually Biv and I got to the same place in regards to our appreciation for, classic Dream Theater material, just in two different ways, different highways with the same destination. So when I saw this, and if you like us, of course, on Facebook, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But if you already do, then you saw this, where I was just warning to anybody in Indianapolis, Indiana, because upon reading this, Biv's going to take off his pants. If Dream Theater is playing Images and Words in its entirety in concert, Biv's going to be there naked. Am I right?
Oh, I'm already naked. I don't even know when they're coming, but pants are already.
Whoa! Hello! Anyway, sorry.
Right? So, in all seriousness, it's been 25 years since Images and Words came out.
Jesus Christ. True. I guess it is. If you think about it.
Yeah, came out in 92, I believe, spring of 92.
I was a freshman in high school, and you were, in your mid-50s at that time, probably?
No, seriously, I was 21. But it's 25 years, so more than half of my life ago, that was released. And, they were great musicians then. They came out of the Berklee School of Music together, well, except for James LaBrie. They formed a band. They had very little lineup change over those 25 years.
Sure.
And now here they are, several albums, many albums later, many world tours, many side projects. They've had a chance to play with many great musicians throughout the world in many different genres. Now it's really going to be interesting to see the take that they have on Images and Words. Now, if my memory serves me correctly, Images and Words is only about 45 minutes long.
Yeah, it's not, a long it's not the Astonishing,
No, it's not. So it's going to be interesting to see what other material they mix in with that. Are they going to do some, some stuff off of Awake? Are they going to do some stuff off of Falling into Infinity? Are they going to do some B-sides, some unreleased material? I'm assuming they're going to stick to the older stuff, since after all it is the Images and Words.
I don't know, though, because, it reminds me of, Somewhere Back in Time tour, where Maiden did, the old stuff, and that was it. Or, I remember seeing Maiden when A Matter of Life and Death came out, and they played that whole album in its entirety, and then the rest of the show, they played some of the fan favorites, Fear of the Dark, and... You know what I'm saying? So, it may even be a combination of both, to where the old school Dream Theater fan like Biv listens to Images and Words and rocks out. Then the newer, school guy in me hears, As I Am or Panic Attack or whatever, and I'm like, hell yeah, the newer stuff. You know what I mean? So maybe they kind of combine the two, or maybe they just go totally old school. I don't know. It'd be interesting.
I don't know. It's going to be... I'm interested enough to go, so I guess we can find out.
Hell yes. I think, to me, when we talked, of course, about them doing the Astonishing again, even though I'd like to see it, I'd be much more interested in seeing Images and Words done. And I think my only question is going to be, there's no doubt that, obviously, Portnoy's Portnoy, but, I think Mangini can handle that part just fine, So my only concern and question, and it's a valid question, is especially live, man. You just never know what James LaBrie you're going to get, and him doing, I'm thinking of him trying to sing "Take the Time," you know what I mean? And that's going to be a possible big time stretch for James LaBrie 25 years later. You know what I'm saying?
It could be, but let's face it, in recent tours, he has sounded better than he did in the early 2000s, that's for sure.
No, that's true. Good point. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the only X factor of it, but either way, it's a must-see show as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, absolutely. So, speaking of tours to look forward to, now, speaking of taking pants off as well, I know that you've got kind of a man crush on one Russell Allen.
I do. And pretty much anything the guy does is just, it's dreamy, is really what it is.
Well, you can get your dream on then, because Adrenaline Mob...
I know, they have a new album coming out in a couple months too, don't they?
They do. It's We the People, the follow-up to Men of Honor, comes out June 2nd through Century Media. Now, we had talked a little while ago about finding a way to get people to purchase, creative ways. So they've got a 2 LP plus CD digipack, special edition, and of course it's going to be available on all platforms. But on top of that, they will commence. Now this says a world tour. It does not say European or Asian or South American. This is a world tour, which will begin in June. So, if that's true, and if they hit the United States, I would. Man, I would love to see that show.
Yeah, Adrenaline Mob was one of those bands that at first I'm like, it was right after Portnoy left Dream Theater, and I wasn't really digging it. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. But it's one of those bands that's really grown on me, and especially with Russell behind the mic. It's always usually killer stuff. He can take a track, in my mind, that is decent at best and just kill it to the point where it's amazingly good or amazingly heavy or catchy or whatever. He's one of the best there is.
Well, did you see who they got as their new drummer and bassist?
No.
Well, they got Jordan Kanata and on the drums, and David Zapladowski, I believe is how you pronounce it, both of Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Okay, well that makes sense.
So,
especially with Russell Allen being, the front man at this, you know what I mean? I mean, there's some ties there, certainly.
So, definitely something to look forward to, and of course that takes ties back to one of my favorite all-time bands, Sabotage, so anytime I can mention them on the show, I'm kind of like Eddie Trump with UFO when it comes to that,
Exactly. Did you get is there like some sort of like sales like commission or spiff related program where every time you mention Sabotage, like you get $1 somewhere or something like that, like some PayPal account I'm not aware of?
Except for the fact that I don't think they made but about $1 in their entire career. So
oh, come on. Well, they have some Trans-Siberian Orchestra money they can float your way then. Dear God.
That they do. They made way more money in TSO than they ever did at Sabotage.
Oh,
but at any rate, that's all I got. That's the news, and that was plenty of it. And we're going to keep you updated now that we've gone to this new format, which you may have heard about if you listen to, the episode we did where we kind of explained the new format. We're going to bring you news as it happens instead of waiting 2 weeks at a time. I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, and it's going to make it so you don't, just like album reviews when they come out, there's sometimes in the news, there's a ton of it. There's sometimes you're like, yeah, they got about 2 stories that are worth talking about. Well, when that happens, if that happens, you'll hear them then. That's how we roll. That's the news.